What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kilo Loco, and today I'm going to be covering MVVM, and that's going to be specifically with SwiftUI. So luckily SwiftUI kind of sets it up to where you kind of need to work with MVVM. There's not a whole lot to think about. You might have already been implementing it, but I'm going to show you how to get started with MVVM. I'm going to show you how I implement it and show you some of the use cases that I run into and how I work around them. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. So as you can see, we are starting off with this basic project where I have this users view, and it's pretty much the same as the content view when you start off a new SwiftUI project. Now, what we want to do in our users view is display a list of users. Now, generally, you would get those users back from your backend, right? You would do some type of query, and then you would get those users, and then you would display them. Now, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to be getting my users from my view model, which means my view model is going to be the place where I keep all my business logic, all the stuff that makes the app actually work and do the thing that it's supposed to be doing, right? And that's what we're going to use the view model for. And the view is simply going to be a stupid, view that just simply displays whatever is given to it by the view model. So the first thing that we want to do is actually create that view model class. Now, before I do that, I want to say that I'm going to do it a little bit differently than what you might be used to seeing, and you can feel free to do this however you want. So let me show you how I do it. All right, so as you can see, I created an extension on the user's view. And in that extension, I created the class called ViewModel. This means that this view model is scoped specifically to a user's view. So if you wanted to actually create an instance of this view model, it would have to be user's view dot view model. And the reason why I do this is because the likelihood of you using the same view model for different views is kind of uncommon. I haven't really found a practical use case of actually doing this when I was working with UIKit. So if you were to try to do this with SwiftUI, I just don't see it as being something that's going to come up a whole lot. So that's why I choose to scope it this way. You can obviously create something called users view model, which is fine, but I choose to do it this way because then it keeps it consistent, and it's always going to be a view model inside of a view that has state. So then there's that consistency there, that every time there's a user's view, or whenever there's a view that has state, it's going to have a property on it called view model, which is going to be of type its view model, whatever the scoped view model is. So I'm just throwing that out there. So then what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is an observable object, because we're going to actually implement it as a state object. It needs to persist past each iteration of the creation of the view. And then we have this publish property, which is just simply going to be the users, essentially where we're going to be getting our data from to populate our view. Next, what we need to do is we need to actually create a list in our users view that is taking the data from the view model and displaying it into a list. All right, so as you can see, I created an instance of our view model, which is just simply view model, or you can do self.viewModel. Or if you really wanted it to be explicit, then you can do, users view.viewModel. Any of these things work, whatever you feel is best, but I'm just going to keep it as view model. I feel like it's clean like that. Like I said, state object, we're creating that list, grabbing the users. Each user is going to display a name of text. Now, it's not showing anything in our preview, and that's simply because there's nothing in the users array. So now we need to create a function that's going to get those users. Now, this is the part where we would actually do a networking request and go up and go get those users from the backend, right? And what you would normally want to do to make sure that your data is nice and clean and properly separated is to have a class that is going to do that for you. So as you can see right here, I have this app data service that I'm going to use in order to get my users. So it has a function that has a callback called completion, and whenever that completion is done, it's simply going to pass us an array of those users. So let's go ahead and use that. So jumping back over to the users view, let's go ahead and get an instance of our data service. All right, so as you can see, we have our data service right here, which is an instance of app data service. right? And then in our get users function, we're going to do data service.getUsers, which is then going to update the users. So now what we need to do is we just need to make sure that we're calling this function from our body. And we're going to do that on appear on the list. All right, and there it is. As you can see here, we are doing on appear, and we're going to perform viewModel.getUsers. Now, luckily, we're working with dummy data, and we're able to see the data right here: Kyle, Jamal, and Lee. And all this data is coming from our app data service. Now, in reality, what would normally happen is you're going to go up to the API, and then it's going to return some data. Now, in order to kind of show that like what is kind of normal to happen, I'm going to wrap this in a dispatch queue, put it back on the main thread, and you're going to see that our preview will not be able to actually show that data. All right, so as you can see, got the dispatch queue going to the main thread, and we put our completion inside there. Now, if we go back over to our users view, and if we resume our preview, you're going to notice that all the data disappears. And the reason for that is because the preview isn't able to just understand what's going to happen once it gets past the dispatch queue and things like that. So in order to continue making our preview work with this system, what we want to do is we actually want to be able to inject a view model into our users view. So instead of initializing the view model like this, we're going to initialize it in the initializer. So let's go ahead and make some changes. All right, so as you can see, what I did was I updated, instead of initializing the view model right here, I say it's of type view model. And then in the initializer, I'm passing in a view model. And what happens when you have a state object is it gives you this, this other property which is going to be underscore whatever the name of the property is. So if I called it view model, it'd be underscore view model. If I called it state, it'd be underscore state. And all it's going to do is it's going to allow us to pass the state object to this object right here, and we could initialize that state object with this view model that's being passed into our initializer, and everything's going to work essentially as it was before. Now, the benefit here is that we are able to pass in a view model at the preview level. So if we just go ahead and create a view model with some users in it, now we can see that there is a view model being passed to this user's view. So we created that user, created the view model, passed the user in as an array of a single user into that view model, and then passed the view model. So now if I resume my my view, well, it's going to crash. And the reason why it crashed is because back over here in our app object, we actually can't create this user's view with an empty initializer. Now we need to fix it so that we're creating a view model like this, but this kind of looks ugly. So instead of doing it here, what I'll do is I'll go back over to our initializer in our user's view, and I'll give it a default value, which is just going to be a init. So it's going to initialize a view model, just a regular view model. And then if we go back over here, we're going to notice that there's no errors. And if we try again on our preview, we're going to see that the dummy user shows up like so. So this is essentially how you're going to be working with view models. Now let's keep going. Let's make it a little bit more intermediate to advanced levels of scenarios that you're going to be running into. Now, the problem that we have so far is that we're actually using an app data service, which is fine. You know, you can use it like this, but it doesn't follow like the clean principles, and everybody wants to just make everything like protocol oriented. Whatever, that's fine. So in order to get past that, what we want to do is we want to make our data service be a protocol, and that will make it so that we're not tied specifically to the app data service in case we want to change the implementation there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new protocol called data service, and instead of working directly with the app data service, we'll just be working with anything that conforms to the data service. So let's go back over to our app data service. Let's create a protocol that has the get users function in it. All right, so as you can see, we created this data service protocol and it has a function, same exact signature. I just copied and pasted it. And our app data service now conforms to that data service. So let's go back over to our users view model. And what we'll do is, instead of making data service like this, we'll have it conform, or have it be of type data service like that. And data service will still be able to do get users, and based off of whatever object was initialized for this data service, will do the implementation. In our case, we're going to be using the app data service. So what we'll do for the view model is we'll create an initializer that allows us to pass in a data service. So there you go. As you can see, there's no more errors on the view model, but now we have a similar problem to what we did in the app object, where we can't just simply create a view model with an empty initializer. It needs to be passed a data service. So what we'll do is we'll give it a default argument of app data service. So now if we do an initializer like this, it's automatically going to assume that you want an app data service, but it also gives us the flexibility to start testing with like a mock data service or whatever you want to do there. And all this functionality will still work. So that's really good. And if you press resume, you're going to notice that the preview is still working just as it did before. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is just going over how you would test something like this. So just to make a very basic example, what we'll do is we'll go over to the test area and we're going to make sure that our app is imported. So testable import and then whatever your app name is. And we want to have the system under test. So it's going to be SOT and it's going to be our view model. All right, so as you can see, we have SOT, which is system under test, and then we have our users view model, which is going to be what we're testing. And in the setup and the teardown, for the setup, we're going to set the SOT to, right now I just have it as .init. For the teardown, I'm just making that SOT nil. Now, when you're working with tests, you're going to want to use mock services. So if we try to use this, especially if it was connected to a backend, it's not going to work. And that's primarily because we have dispatch queue, and that's going to kind of throw some things off. Things aren't going to be executed immediately in line. So what we'll do is we'll real quick create a mock data service just so that we can pass it into our view model so you can see what that's kind of like, and then we can go ahead with the test. All right, so as you can see, we created a very basic mock data service, normally put in a different file, but hey, whatever. And then it conforms to data service, and we're going to implement the get users. In this case, we're just going to have one user, which is going to be ID1, and the name is going to be Kilo Loco. We're going to then initialize our view model. So we could do it this way, and just to make sure that it's not confusing, I could do it a different way. We initialize that view model with a data service. We'll pass in an instance of our mock data service, or we could create it up here. It doesn't really matter. This is just an example. But essentially what's going to happen is we're now going to have a mock data service. So what we want to test on our view model is it only has one function. Let's go ahead and double check that whenever we do a get users, that it's going to have some type of update to the user's property on our view model. So I'll create a function called test get users. All right, so as you can see, I created this new test function called test get users, and we're going to start it off by doing an assert true, making sure that SOT.users, our view model users, is empty when it starts out. Then we're going to call get users. Now remember, we're going to be using this SOT, which was created with a mock data service, and our mock data service is going to be providing a single user. So in my test, I could do xct assert equal SOT.users.count. The user's count is going to be equal to 1, which is just going to be Kilo Loco. I could also do any number of things to test that user, make sure the ID is, 1, whatever. Test it however you want, but let's go ahead and test this class again and make sure everything's working as expected. we run it, and as you can see, we get the little green check mark next to our test saying that it was successful. So that's pretty much it that I want to show you. A couple of other things that I'll just mention right off the top without going over it too much. Back over here in the users view, there's going to be times where you're going to want to have like data service. Maybe it's provided by a data manager. In that case, what I would recommend is using maybe a singletons for your data manager. You would have a singleton for your data manager, and then you would just simply access the singleton from right here as the initial argument. So that's one thing that you might want to see. Also, the same thing with if you want to do injection through the view. Way say that you had to inject some type of object into the user's view, then you could create the initializer and pass that object in here the same way that we did with the view model. But let's say we wanted to inject something into that view model. Well, you could do it that way, or you could create some type of other function where it would be like func configure, and then it'll be like with something, and then you would just pass in whatever that something is here, and then you could inject it into your view model that way. So those are a couple of other things that I ran into that you might be interested in. If you want more in depth about MVVM or any other topic, please leave a comment down below. Be very descriptive with your comments. Let me know exactly what you're looking to see so that I can have a better idea of how to present the information in the tutorial. It's going to really help me in 2021 make sure that my content is right on point with what you're looking to have covered. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you learned something new. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you give it a like, make sure you subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It fills my heart with joy a whole lot. So like I said, that's it. Have a great day, and go out there and keep coding passionately.